All
All right.
right.
What were your reactions or thoughts about the story?
I thought it was like very interesting. Through the I don't want to butcher his last name, so I'm just gonna say the author's thoughts because he was kind of like it was mostly just him hating on not really hating, but like likes and dislikes of
Just
his
saying how you didn't like how
yeah
controlling it was.
yeah just like yeah all over the place with his views on his stuff, and
Yeah.
I really liked it because it showed how he wouldn't abide to how people wanted him to act. Like he was
Yeah.
talking, I think he was talking about the communities and
Mhm.
like mowing someone mowing their lawn and how that looks throughout the neighborhood, and it just showed a lot how he had much different views than everybody
Yeah.
else.
And like how it should, what your neighbor does shouldn't affect what you do, and how it shouldn't control. And we should just like not be so careful about whatever everyone does.
Yeah, yeah,
But he seemed to like really think through what he was talking about.
yeah. Like it was very thorough. Like
Yeah.
all of his points were pretty thorough on what he was talking about, and he kind of knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Solid points behind everything.
Uh-huh. But sometimes he would like contradict himself, and it was funny because like he doesn't want to listen to the government, but he still wants a better government.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I didn't like
I
this
don't
about the
want this,
government,
but I
but
want this.
yeah." Kind of just showing back and forth about
Yeah.
his views and
All right. So discussion questions. Why do you think he was so negative about the current state of the government?
I think he's just negative because like we were saying, there's just a lot of things that he personally didn't like
Yeah.
about how they were handling things and
Mhm.
how they were pretty much just how they were handling things.
Agree with you.
All
right. What's one of your questions?
I had one when he was talking about going to church and how they had to like pay the priest and they like locked him up because he didn't.
Yeah.
I thought that was just really weird because like nowadays it's like you can if you
that
want
wouldn't make sense at all.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was
completely be opposite and just
Yeah.
seem super odd.
Very demanding. Like you needed to, and it just seemed
need to do this or else this
yeah.
happens.
It's kind of felt like that aspect kind of made it seem like a dictatorship type thing
Yes,
because
exactly.
they were just forcing him to, or else he was locked up. So it was
Yeah.
that part just was a little confusing to me.
I didn't understand that part of the story a whole lot.
Yeah.
All right. To read my questions here. What do you think he realized once he was in jail by saying that this apartment was probably nicer than the rest of the city?
I think what he meant by that was just like where he lived, just it was all over the place. Like there was slumps and just it was just a disgusting place, and like this jail cell just it had a toilet, it had a bed, it just was
all he needed.
He needed food, that was about it, and it was just fine.
Yeah, and there was like no arguments about this or that, or what it had, what it didn't have, or comparisons even to like how your neighbor was, like how their lawn was compared to how their lawn.
Yeah.
No pressure, like compared to your neighbors.
I had a question. It kind of answers itself. It kind of already answered it, but it was like, why does he talk about the government and democracy a lot? Like, is he displeased with the government? Which we know he is displeased with the government.
He didn't like it, yeah. So.
But I think it was weird because like he did talk about it a lot, and I know the articles of civil disobedience and it's about government and all that, but like it was just a lot of on and on about this government stuff. And then he did take a change.
It's kind of repetitive almost.
Yeah, almost repetitive. And then he kind of took the change where he talked about like the neighbor's lawn and stuff. It was kind of a nice little break from all this government talk, but still kind of relating to the government stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We probably already answered this question too, but do you think he shared good points on how to improve the fairness of the government and make it just?
I think he did. I think he
described his reasoning for what he was saying.
He told what he didn't like, and he gave other things that he did like, and back and forth, and all that.
Other solutions to what he thought was an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he did a pretty good job showing his pluses and minuses, yeah.
Thought through all his ideas.
Yeah, it really was, like we said before, it was very thorough with how he did his stuff. Another one of my questions is, what is a poll tax and why didn't he pay it for 6 years? That was one confusing part that kind of...
I didn't even understand that part of the story. Yeah. I just figured it was probably like property tax or something similar to that. And he's like, why do I have to pay this if I'm doing this? So he just didn't do it.
Yeah, it was just...
thought it was supporting the government or something. I don't know.
It was just weird to me because if it's like a tax and he didn't pay it for 6 years, it's like, isn't that just weird? Like,
yeah,
just like neglected it for 6 years.
Consequence.
Yeah.
But then once he got out of jail for it, wasn't it paid or something? I think he said it was paid.
I thought it was just weird how like he had to pay this priest, but if he didn't pay this tax for 6 years, like they didn't really have anything bad for him for
just
that.
Just a weird part of the story.
Yeah, it was just
didn't weird. Make sense with like present day.
Yeah, like, I feel like it should have been like the other way around.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, my fourth question. He said he will obey those who do better than I, but how hard would it be for him to realize once the government is good to him and fair? So like, why would he? Where was it? Why would he obey those people who have the power? But like, how is the government so much better than he is?
Yeah.
And what could they do to make it more fair? So he wanted more of like almost more of a democracy than they had, so that it was just fair across the board.
Yeah.
Or no government, so that everyone was equal. It seemed like.
Yeah, I don't really know about but yeah. It did seem like he really wanted to kind of make that democracy a little bit more of a democracy than like you said, already was. My fourth question, it was kind of the same as the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm reading it, was why would they lock him in prison for not paying this priest?
Yeah.
Like it's just like we said, it's weird and.
Yes, it didn't make sense.
Yeah, like current day, it just doesn't make sense.
With present society, it was like, wait a minute,
yeah.
Did I read that right?
Yeah, it's just, from what we know, it's way different than what we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go over quotes?
Sure. You want to read first one? I'll read my first one, then so on.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. My first interesting quote was, "I was not born to be forced. I will breathe after my own fashion," which kind of was like a little bit motivating because it was kind of like he was telling them like, I'm not going to be forced and that he will do whatever he wants to do because
he'll do what he feels like doing.
Yeah, he shouldn't have to be forced to do something.
Yeah. All right. My first one was, "The authority of the government, even such as I am willing to submit to, for I will cheerfully obey those who know and can do better than I," which didn't really make sense to me because he was telling me how he didn't want government and how he wanted it more to be more even, but then he's willing to submit to these people who will do better than he will.
Yeah.
So that was confusing for me because I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why would he want that, but he wants this? So again, it was like an opposing point to what he wanted.
Kind of, just saying things and then contradicting himself about it.
With it. Yeah.
Yeah. The second one I had was, "A state which bore this kind of fruit and suffered it to drop as fast as it ripened." I thought that one was kind of interesting because of like it dropped as fast as it ripened was just like obviously that's really fast or not really kind of but like it's just an interesting quote because he's relating it to the state and suffering and stuff.
Yeah. All right, my second one is, "When the power is once in the hands of the people, a majority are permitted, and for a long period continue to rule, not because they are most likely to be in the right, nor because this seems the fairest to the minority, but because they are physically the strongest." So I thought it was just odd because he was like, these people have the most power now because they've been in there. So he wanted to like get rid of that, where that once someone was in there, they didn't have any more power than like just a normal citizen. Yeah. But at different points, he's like, this person who knows better than I should have this power. So again, he was like contradicting himself.
It just seemed like the whole article was kind of like that, where he was
like, oh, here's this side, but this.
Yeah, it wasn't just like one side. He was kind of back and forth on both sides a little bit.
All right.
I think that's it.
We reach our time limit?
Yep, I think so.
All right.
All right.